Nicole Bonner with Healing Hands of Manahawkin and Wellness. So we have been discussing about the beauty of our body and its amazing ability as a self-healing, self-regulating organism. So what does that mean? Well, that means that your body has an intelligence within it to heal itself. You guys have all experienced this phenomenon that we call healing. Healing in the body is actually pretty complex. There's different cascades of processes that have to happen in the body in order for the body to heal itself, but the body does it. So I'll share this story with you guys. If you guys know, our family is like, our chiropractic family, our patients, our clients are like family to us. And I also feel like vice versa. We've had some patients in our office longer than my kids have even been on the planet. So my eldest child is 17 years old now, and I have a 17-year-old and I have a 14-year-old. And my 17-year-old is like my gift because he was always nice and easy, really kind of quiet. He got into trouble, but nothing crazy. My 14-year-old, I call my eldest son the trick child. Do you know why I call him the trick child? I call him the trick child because that's God's way of tricking you into having another baby. So we have this other baby, expecting him to be just like the first baby. Those of you who are parents, now you know I'm going down the wrong road here. And our second child is nothing like our first child. In fact, our second child is like the Tasmanian devil on steroids, right? This kid loves adrenaline. So one of the things that he takes up when he's a kid and gets into his teenage years is dirt bike riding. And so my son Lucas, who now takes up this sport of dirt bike riding, he just doesn't take it up, but he becomes an extremist. And he's actually very talented. He's very athletic. And so because of that, he becomes this extremist, a total adrenaline junkie. And one day he's riding his dirt bike and he's heading up to a jump. So he's heading up the hill to take this jump. And on the other end of the hill was a 1,000-pound quad rider. One of those quads that are those utility vehicles are 800, 900 pounds, right? So Lucas heads up this hill, launches about 20 feet in the air off the jump. I saw the video. And he lands and smashes head on into this 1,000-pound utility vehicle. And so Lucas, when he landed straight on his leg, and his femur split right down the middle. And so we took Lucas, of course, to the hospital and had all the proper x-rays and all that kind of stuff. And no medicine, no drugs, not even Tylenol, not even painkillers. Why? Because there's a purpose for the pain. There's a purpose for the inflammation. We actually talked about that purpose in the last video. We talked about how inflammation is actually part of the body's healing process to bring blood to the injured area. And the blood brings with it vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and oxygen to help heal the tissue. And so long story short, the leg gets casted so that the bones can, grow back together. How beautiful is your body? Your body has the potential to grow bone back together almost so perfectly that on post x-rays you almost can't even see where that dang fracture was to begin with. And the interesting thing about this particular fracture that Lucas had was that it got very close to the growth plate. So every week we had to monitor the fracture to make sure he didn't need surgical intervention, because if the fracture got into the growth plate, it would stunt his growth. And then, of course, one leg would grow to be like this long, and then the other leg would be like that long, right? And that wouldn't be good, especially for his dirt bike riding career. And so the cool thing about this was that every week we had to monitor it with post x-ray. So every week he got an x-ray. So every week we were able to see on x-ray how his body went through this beautiful healing process of the bone being like separated and then coming together 1 week, and then coming more together another week, and then by the 3rd week, the bones were actually fused back together, which is so awesome. How the heck does your body do that? Well, there are several processes that go on inside of the body for the body to actually regrow bone, but the body has the ability and the potential to do that. And all of that is done, all of the cascades of healing that go on inside of the body to accomplish the regrowth of bone is all controlled and directed by, you guessed it, the major organ, the big daddy himself, the brain, right? The brain controls all of the cascades of chemistry and all the cascades of healing that go on inside of the body for the body to regrow and reform that bone, right? So the brain does that, though, with the help of the spinal cord. So the way that the brain does that is it sends electrical signals down through and over the spinal cord. Just like how electricity flows over and through an electrical wire, the electrical messages from the brain flow through the spinal cord, they exit the spine, and they travel over all of the nerves to facilitate these cascades of healing so that the body can heal itself. Now what happens is, and this is where chiropractic is essential for good quality healing, what happens is this, is when you have different stress to your body, like slips and falls, car accidents, sporting injuries, sitting at your computer with poor posture, what all those different stresses do is it causes your spinal bones to shift out of alignment. And that misalignment causes the spinal cord to become stressed, tense, tight, and smashed in the canal. And when the cord is tense, tight, or smashed, the energy traveling through that part of the nervous system slows down. Now, you can only imagine if you have an injury and the energy between the brain and the body is slowed down, you can imagine that you're going to have a problem. Because if the nervous system slows down, what's also going to slow down? That's exactly right. All the cascades of healing that contribute to the healing process. So, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about that, this is such a beautiful thing. This is my favorite topic to talk about because your body is a biological organism constantly in the state of health and healing. And if it's not in the state of health or healing, then it's in a state of disease. And if it is in a state of disease, then we have to do something better than just masking that disease with drugs. All right, we love you. Any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below.